And now it is my turn to announce our next speaker. Danièle Nicolet Widmer has been a psychologist, a therapist for over 30 years, and is leading groups and training courses on self-knowledge, spirituality, and psycholysis. In her lecture on this subject, Danièle Nicolet provides insight into the multi-layered spaces of the past, present, and future dimensions of a well-founded and conscious psycholytic work, which, in addition to the level of psychotherapy, also includes first and foremost the level of spirituality, collective consciousness, and common cultural orientation.
Hallo zusammen.
Hello there, everybody.
Ich hoffe, ihr mögt noch mal eine Runde.
I hope you are still up for one more hour after this very intense and beautiful lecture by Kasia.
Ich freue mich sehr, darf ich
I am very glad that I can introduce you and let you take part at my absolute favorite subject, the science of living, or
die zeitliche Orientierung in den tiefen Dimensionen der Psycholyse.
To find the time orientation in the deep layers of psycholysis is a subject that we will only have time for in a very rudimentary way. But I hope that those who have not been in contact with it yet can be can take something out of it and maybe also get get an idea of it, and that those who already know something about it or have been in contact with it can get into it even more and to experience the space deeper and more closely. The time orientation of the deep layers of psycholysis.
Zu meinem psycholytischen Hintergrund.
Just a short summary of my psycholytic background.
Ich habe Psycholyse nicht gesucht.
I have not been looking for psycholysis. I did not know about it. I did not know that it exists. When I was 20 years old, I came to it as the virgin comes to the baby by getting to know Samuel Widmer while I was in a therapy. He was my therapist and he suggested something, and I did not know what that was. And in the short time that I knew him, half a year by that time, I had begun to trust him, and I felt at home with him. And then I thought, well, why not? Somehow something new has to come into my life. I have to
das Leben, das ich
live.
hatte,
I have to
klären. Ich muss
take the
aufräumen.
life that I had before and
Etwas
get order into it.
Weiteres aufmachen.
And I need to open
Das
myself
war
up to something new, something more open.
87 bis 90, 3 Jahre psycholytische
1987
Psychotherapie im Rahmen dieser
started 3 years of psycholysis when there was a special permit
Zeit der,
to do it
kurz nach der Gründung der Sept.
shortly after the foundation of the Sept.
Das war eine sehr intensive,
That was a very intense,
sehr lehrreiche Zeit für mich, die
very,
sehr schnell Ordnung gebracht hat. in mein Leben,
I
in meine
learned a lot in
Vergangenheit.
that time, and it brought a lot of order into my life and into my past. This time awakened something within me, awakened me for what I feel I came for into this world and what I was looking for the first 20 years of my life. And then I just slid into it, first as an assistant, and then 1992 Samuel and I were living a psycholytic life together, with therapy, with training groups, with seminars. And we could, and I still can, very broadly make experiences or have experiences as a psycholytic therapist in many countries and 4 continents. We could, with the sacraments that were allowed, that were legally available at the time, practice further with our team, with the people who came to us or are coming, still coming to us. We can research the subject further.
Solche Landkarten,
maps like that. That is the third map that Samuel brought us. He was very good at finding helping structures, to find an overview, to find maps that are generally valid for many people or all people in different layers or different ways of seeing things. And a map is never reality, but it can help us to orient us, to help us gain a perspective, to help us find an overview over the rooms, the spaces that we are in.
Ist es die zeitliche Orientierung in der tiefen Dimension des Seins? So diese Räume sind ja
it's
überhaupt
the
nicht
temporal orientation in the space that we live in, not only psycholysis.
sehr unterschiedlich.
And we are also not dependent on psycholysis to experience these rooms, these spaces, these times, but it's very different. The differences are great when it comes to reaching these spaces, and we are here talking about psycholysis, so this is also especially something that people reach when they are traveling in these spiritual spaces that you reach with psycholysis. And as Vanya said yesterday, and when he said before, that most people need these sacraments. They need energy that is gifted to them to be able to enter these spaces. And for me as well, they opened up my view, and it is a journey without end into width and depth that know no limits, as Kasia said, and one life is not enough to experience it. And I find the support of the sacraments of the psycholytic tools very, very important, and they help a lot.
Wir haben die Räume aufgeteilt in eine Oberflächenschicht von Gegenwart, Vergangenheit.
We sort of separated the spaces we talk about into a superficial layer and a deep layer, and then we have the future, the present, and the past, and these rooms are of course only names because actually there's only one big space, but it's so big that it sometimes helps to have a separation, to have an orientation. And here we see different qualities of what is basically the same room. We need, well, to describe it, we just made a separation.
Des Prozesses, des psychotherapeutischen Prozesses, aber auch des psycholytischen Prozesses ist es ja in der Regel so.
In the beginning of the psycholytic process, generally it is like that when you go quiet and you get energy, be it through meditation or through substances, through sacraments or any other methods that open up your consciousness. Usually it is like that you get just taken to different places, feelings, and you can't say anything about that. You don't get to say where you want to go. You just find yourself in different states and different questions in different ways, and you in the beginning can't really tell where you are or how you would describe it. And that is very normal, that when sleeping or blocked energy gets freed, it doesn't go in regulated paths, you have a chaos. And there's no problem in that. We all know it. And I wouldn't
bei Psychotherapie oder Psycholyse anfangen.
And I wouldn't talk about this model with beginners in psycholysis, because it would only lead to chaos, or it would distract. And if there's more quiet and the ability to take the energy and just be with it, if that ability has grown and the chaos has subsided, and you're no longer like a playing ball of the energies and just thrown this way and that. And if you have more and more if you have intent more and more, then we can talk about these models. And the most important, again and again, is the present, here and now, meditation. So also in your everyday life, when there's nothing to do and thinking is not required, it should be the starting point every day, and then of course of every psycholytic ritual. You always start with the present. You can't have the intention to travel anywhere or to go anywhere in a psycholytic session if you can start here in this moment with me, with you, with the world, to sense everything that is there, to be in contact with everything that is there, not having to do anything, not wanting anything. Meditation.
Das ist die Verankerung in der Wirklichkeit.
That is anchoring in reality.
Immer wieder neue Anbindung.
That is tying yourself to reality again and again.
Alle anderen Bewegungen kommen von daher, oder
every other movement start there, in the now, in the anchoring in the present.
Meist,
there's an arrow going from the present to the past. When we learn to be quiet, when we learn to be with what is, there's like a border, or there's a point where you realize that you're being taken away from what is. You can't really be quiet. And that's the energetic movement into the past, into the personal past. Sometimes that just happens like a river that takes you away. But in other meditating states, sometimes it just happens as over insight. You realize that you're bound in some way. You realize that you have to go and look at something in the past. You have to look into your personal history and see what is bound there. The deeper space of existence, the movement of evolution, you can also discover, but for that you need a lot of energy, and this energy is not yours to use, or is not yours if the energy is bound in your past, or if the energy is bound. And the level where it's easiest or most common to free that energy is your personal history. Everything that is still creating feelings within you from your past. All the feelings that are still sitting somewhere in the cells of your body. All the feelings you can look at, but not intellectually, but look at them energetically as energetic processes, to feel through the feelings, to be it, to be what you couldn't be in the past, to see what you couldn't see, to understand what you couldn't understand. And through that you can free the energy, set it free. And you can use that freed energy, you can bring it back into the present. That is, of course, something that you do not only once, but something that is more or less, well, it doesn't have to be a never-ending, year-long process, but it often is a long process and a recurrent process that maybe lessens in intensity and frequency over time, but you probably have to be at it a long time, maybe lifelong, though I can't tell you that yet. But for a long time you have to go back and feel back and free the energy where it is still bound, and then have it in the present as free energy. When enough energy is in the present, in the being here and now, and it is there for you to use, and more freedom of your personal history, freedom from your history, it somehow happens on its own. It's somehow the natural order of things that you start looking into the future as well. Not in the way that you've done in the way before you've taken care of these feelings, that you're still being bound to the past and project the unordered stuff from the past and the present into the future, but as an energetic movement you start to feel what is coming, to feel the fate that is there. You feel the personal way or what could be your task. You're not thinking about it, you're not imagining it, but you feel it. I have to take care of this. Maybe it could go this way. It's also a process of visions that gives you the first visions. We have to live differently with each other, so that our personal and collective happiness can bloom. These old structures with work, with living, the old order is no longer alive, is no longer truthful. We have to free ourselves. The beginning of a new story, first on your personal level, on your personal life. It helps as well to go about your life if you're not only looking into the past, because most people look mostly into the past, and especially in the relationships, and in many things you look into the past, and that has a very different energy in your life when as if you are looking into the future, in the close or in the further future, so that I can see or feel what the future holds in store, and not that I think about it. And I can go into the intention of the bigger, not only my own. My fate, or however you want to call it, the intention that my life has in store for me, and my own little intention I can put into the use of this bigger movement. It helps also to live through difficult times. If you know what is coming or feel, of course you never know really for sure, but you can feel it. Because there's a lot of different factors that are playing into the future. That helps to prepare yourself to feel the feelings that might be coming, to prepare the quiet that you need to face them. To face the situation when it comes, when it will be here and now, when it will be your life, to face it in a way that is good. To be anchored in the present and to go from there and have a deep view into the future
wenn man diese Fähigkeit entwickelt, ruft einem das dann auch
if you develop this ability, life
gewisse Dinge vorzubahnen oder zu initiieren.
Sort of wants you to initiate things, to bring things into life. You sort of get tasks to have the next step in view, to inspire a group or to lead a group of people, to be a translator for life or for energy that wants to unfold to and need our agreeing, our they need us as a vessel to be expressed.
Man ist sozusagen immer einen Schritt voraus.
You are in a way always one step ahead.
Man ist eben einerseits ganz
on the one hand
mit aller Kraft, mit aller Leidenschaft,
very much here in the present, with all the passion, with all the quiet that you have, with all the energy you have. You are here in this moment, and at the same time you are also a question. You're always open and you're intent on what is to come.
Das hilft dann, die Leidenschaft zu vergrößern.
That helps to enhance the passion, to help to find sense in life, to feel alive.
Man ist getragen,
one is carried in the bigger energetic movement. And in the bigger task that is there in life.
Man bringt dann diese
and
schon mal geliehene Energie, aus der Zukunft geliehene Energie,
take the energy that was borrowed from the future back into the present, into the moment, and you can live with it, you can work with it. In the psycholytic therapy, you can work with it by leading a group in a way that they can go into a useful direction. Because when people are in a group, especially people who are beginners, who are very focused on personal history, or they can always turn around in the same stories and their own history, and that there's no new movement, no new history coming into that. And that is the task of a facilitator, of a leader, when it comes to psycholysis, to help to put the attention to a useful energetic direction, to find the new steps in the process.
Je mehr man sich gekümmert hat
the more you have been
Bewegungen, diese verschiedenen Ausrichtungen,
you have been collecting energy in the past or in the future. The more, the bigger the vessel you are becomes, the more quiet is possible. And there, on its own, begins a movement into the depth. It starts on its own. And you also have to say that the superficial layer and the deep layer are not really divided, but that is just a division that we have so that we can understand it more. But then there always are connections from the superficial layer to the deep layer, even if not everything is in order or the quiet is not that great. But in general, one could say that this deep layer it takes a lot of order within yourselves, and it takes a lot of energy. I think there are many people who can only connect to this deep layer with psycholytic substances or in psycholytic settings, who need the support of that consciousness expanding energy, and to go into that greater depth, to dive into it, to be so quiet in the here and now, to collect so much energy from the past, so that the floor opens in a way that energy movement goes into the unpersonal space. It is still the same space, but the curtains that were there in different directions start to lift. Something starts to melt, as Kasia described before. The quiet point, or I am not there anymore. The space of the endless now, of eternity, the big quiet, unity, oneness, a sense of melting over all the human parts, beyond that, beyond time, into a space that contains everything. Everything that was, everything that will be. And that is a lot more than I wrote down there. That is a space beyond all thoughts. That is a space that is not contained in the mind. That is a space that you can only experience, although I think that the word experience is not really correct, because it still speaks of a duality and says that there is still one who experiences and then the experience. But I feel that it is like a dissolving into being one. I think our language ends there, and still I think that it's important to try to express. And in this deep dimension, I am a vessel, I am a tool of these energies, because there is nothing personal in it, nothing that is separated from the whole. There is a space where there is healing, in which the whole can speak through me. When the universal or godly quality can express itself through me, however you want to call it. That is also the space where spiritual dreaming can take place. That is an expression. Well, I haven't found a better expression for it. It has nothing to do with the normal way of dreaming, where we just experience our daily life. Spiritual dreaming is a way of moving in your spiritual body. We don't have the time to elaborate everything about that, but we have something that we have a state where it's possible to move in your energetic body in the big space of being.
Von diesem ganz tief, still, auch wieder meditativen Sein aus, diesem sich ganz gewahr sein, ganz verschmolzen sein mit der Energie des Ganzen.
Being melted with the energy of everything. It takes you back to the past, but more in the collective past. There the transpersonal experiences occur. Probably most of the people who have experienced psycholytic experiences have lived through this. Maybe I'm in Africa, or I'm in the medieval times, or I don't know where I am. Or I am being called to be a silent witness. It's the same in the collective or in the personal, everything that has happened. And with this,
nicht ganz still, also mit dem wir, also die
and with the us, like the humanity, where the humanity hasn't been able to be still. All the emotions and feelings that haven't been able to flow. They have been blocked. We all know this from our collective history. For example, the Second World War.
Konflikte in den Völkern,
or all the conflicts between different countries.
Die ganzen, also oft halt schwierigen Dinge, die geschehen sind, die Menschen
So the difficult things that had happened in humanity.
Sehr, sehr, sehr viel Energie.
It takes a lot of energy and it collects a lot of energy.
Es bindet einem persönlich, wenn man diese Geschichte, wenn sie einen betrifft, nicht angeschaut hat, aber es bindet uns als Menschheit auch. Also wir können uns in der
It builds us as humanity, even if we don't look at this history.
Diese Energie nicht befreien können.
If we can't relieve this history, this energy from this history.
Diejenigen Menschen, die in diesem Bereich vordringen können, die diese stille
So it's the task of people who can go there.
Da sich hinnehmen zu lassen oder manchmal auch aktiv dahin zu
To be taken from this or to actively travel there and to see this and to feel this and to understand it.
Nichts damit zu tun, nichts zu verändern.
Not to do anything with it, not to change it, but just to be there, to really be.
Als Einzelne kann ich natürlich da keine großen Geschichten auflösen, aber wenn das viele Menschen machen.
As a single person, I can't resolve this, but if we are a lot,
dann so viel Energie befreien, dass dann
we can free so much energy that there can happen things in the common history.
Damit ist man oft, also meine Erfahrung ist, einige Jahre beschäftigt. Also das
With
hört
this,
dann nie auf,
you
aber
are
es ist nicht
busy
mehr so
several
intensiv
years.
nach einer Weile.
Maybe it's not as intensive in the first as in the first years.
In jeder tiefen Erfahrung, in jeder tiefen Meditation, in vielen Nächten irgendwo hinnimmt und man einfach
So you are taken by
sein muss, da
meditation, by
sein
deep
muss,
meditation,
das
to
anerkennen
see
muss,
these things,
was da war.
what has happened there.
Da eine Gelassenheit, ein Einverständnis, eine Stille da ist.
Until there's this release, this silence.
Mich persönlich dann immer mehr aus diesem Dienst entlassen, also nicht ganz.
That lets me go out of this service. I mean, it stays a lifelong task.
Gezwungen. Wahrscheinlich hat man dann mehr die Aufgabe mit der Zukunft.
But maybe you have more the responsibility with the future
Aber ich denke,
then.
das gilt für jeden Menschen, für jedes Wesen, das erwacht, das da
But I think
ist,
this applies to every human being that is awake, that has been called.
Das ist dann auch wieder sehr viel Energie.
This is again a lot of energy that you bring back, that you can bring back to the present.
Ja, und diese zusätzliche Energie braucht man auch, weil
And this additional energy we need,
in die Zukunft, die braucht noch mehr.
because the movement towards the future needs more silence and more strength.
Die Vergangenheit, die hat das so an sich, die zieht uns an, wenn wir uns nicht wehren dagegen, wenn wir wach
Because
genug
the
sind
past
dafür, dann zieht
has
sie uns
the
an oder ja.
ability
macht sie
to
sowieso,
pull us
aber wir sind
if we are
dann
not
bewusst
awake.
darin und können das
But if we are
mitgestalten.
conscious, we can
Und ja, die Zukunft macht das nicht.
change this. And the future doesn't do this so
Sondern
much.
da braucht es diese gesammelte Kraft, um da hinein vorstoßen zu können.
So it needs this collective
Das
strength
ist dann ein
and
großes
force
Mysterium.
to go there. It's a big
Ja, das sind
mystery.
Räume, die sich nicht so leicht öffnen.
These are spaces that are not opened easily.
Eine Einladung oder für eine Berechtigung.
There's not an invitation.
Man kann das mit eigener Kraft, die natürlich nicht mehr einfach nur eigene Kraft ist, sondern ist
or maybe you can do it with your own strength, which is no longer just your strength, but a collected strength.
Ja, meine Absicht. Aber ich finde diese Ausrichtung sehr, sehr wichtig.
But I find this orientation very, very important.
Zu verstehen, wohin Evolution will.
To understand where evolution wants to go.
Zu verstehen, wo die Evolution mit uns Menschen, mit der Menschheit hin will.
To understand where the evolution wants to go with the humanity.
So diese ganz großen Gesetze.
So these
zu erahnen, verstehen, zu lernen.
Important laws, to understand them.
Die Evolution hingeht, völlig unabhängig von uns Menschen.
But also where the evolution goes independent from the humankind.
Kann man sehr viel Gelassenheit gewinnen.
Especially from this last point, you can gain a lot of relaxation. It's the overcoming of the hopelessness.
Also die Evolution müssen wir uns gar keine Sorgen machen.
Because we don't have to worry at all about the evolution. It will happen, yes or yes. And if it has to be, also without us.
Aber da ich ja ein Teil, oder da ich ja das eine geworden bin, da ich ja
But because I had become a part of
das Ganze
this,
bin, oder in diesem
because
Zustand,
I'm all of
wieder
it,
in diesen Zustand gehen kann, aber auch grundsätzlich da tief verankert bin in dieser Einheit, ja, werde ich wahrscheinlich irgendwie dazugehören.
but because I had become a part of this state, I will be there anyways, somehow.
Es tut auch gut, also ich finde auch so persönlich tut es gut, aber auch da, wo man lebt, wo man arbeitet.
It feels good personally, but also for where you work in a community.
Zu erwachen für dieses viel, viel Größere, eine
To
Ahnung zu bekommen.
awake.
Von daher kommt ein ganz anderer Duft als oder eine ganz andere Stimmung als die
To
wir
see
uns
that
in
from
dieser
there comes a different smell, a different mood that we had thought of before.
ist eine ganz andere Dimension als
It's a different dimension than
üblicherweise
in
aufhalten.
the one we usually are.
Und das geht ja nicht darum, nur noch in dieser Dimension zu leben. Das geht
And it's
nicht
not
als
about just
Mensch. Also wir haben
it's not just about living all the time in this dimension.
notwendigerweise diese kleineren Räume, mit denen
We can't, we
in
also
denen
have
wir
to be in
leben
these
und
little
mit denen wir
rooms,
umgehen.
spaces
Aber
where
es
we
ist
live
schon-
usually.
Ja, es ist einfach ein Glück. Es ist sehr
But it's a fortune.
bewältigend.
It's overwhelming.
Erlaubt ein großes Gefühl von Freiheit.
It
Es ist
allows,
Freiheit,
it enables a big feeling of
Freiheit,
freedom.
man auch in dieser ganz großen Dimension leben kann oder damit in
It's
Kontakt ist.
freedom to be able to live in this huge dimension, this different dimension.
Es ist, also ich erlebe das so, das, was einem in der Tiefe hält oder das, in dem man zu Hause ist.
I live it like
Das
something,
konkrete, persönliche Zuhause sein hinaus. Also ein Zuhause, aus dem ich gar nie unter keinen Umständen verloren gehen kann.
it's a home where I can't get lost,
Also Ich habe vielleicht dieses Gefühl, wenn der Kontakt zu dieser Dimension verloren geht.
Maybe I feel like this when the contact is lost to this dimension, but anyways I can't get lost. Maybe I'm not conscious, but the more I'm awoke for this, the more I am able to enter in this dimension.
Umso weniger bedrohlich ist das mit dem physischen Tod, also das mit dem Sterben sowieso, dem psychologischen
So the less threatening the idea of death seems, the concept of the physical death seems.
So Strukturen sind,
for this there are more structures,
weil das keine Grenze ist.
Because there is no border nor limit. Because I feel the connection to the things that had happened, that will happen. It makes a very free and wide head. The sky on earth. Heaven on earth.
Ja, genau, da gehört dann dazu, dass man natürlich immer wieder ganz in den Moment, ins Hier und Jetzt zurückkommt.
For this it is also essential to come back to the here, to the now, to live what is to be lived. Maybe to be also on the personal level, to be more in contact on this.
Diese großen Dimensionen, also da wird man sprachlos und
because in these bigger dimensions you become speechless.
In gewisser Weise im Konkreten ausdruckslos. Also man ist totaler Ausdruck, aber stiller.
You are full in expression, but it's a still aesthetic expression.
Den ganz konkreten menschlichen Ausdruck, dafür muss man dann wieder.
And for the specific human expression, you have to come back.
Ohne die Tore, die Türen in diese verschiedenen Dimensionen.
But hopefully not to have to close the gates, the doors to these different dimensions.
Dass diese Türen nicht mehr verschlossen sind, dass die immer ein Spalt offen
It's
sind.
a free awakening if these doors are not locked.
Geht, man sie dann ganz aufmacht.
If it's possible to open them, to resolve them.
Man dann das Sein und das Leben und die Existenz als eine
to see their existence, the life, as one, as unity.
Ja, jetzt käme ich erst so richtig ins Schwärmen, aber zum Glück ist die Zeit um. Ja, wer sich dann tiefer interessiert für diese Dinge,
now I would just start
findet dann schon
to gush, but
mein Vortrag oder
luckily the time is open.
Mein Plädoyer für die Ekstase,
but who
des
is
Seins
more
nicht
interested,
niedergeschrieben, weil ich das immer aus dem Moment so mache, aber es gibt Tonaufzeichnungen.
There are tapes about this topic. I haven't written it down because it takes me out of the now. So if you're interested, there are some at the desk in the front. And before the lunch, we have some music.
Isn't it strange? The sky looks like it's burning. Isn't it strange? Your eyes turning from black to blue. Oh man, if I wanna be free, you beat me. And if I love you, you treat me mean. Isn't it strange, this world, so sad, makes me cry, makes me cry. Isn't it strange, your mood, going up and down, up and down, up and down. When you make love to me, I see beauty. I see beauty. Been going for ages and ages to come. A storm is coming and another calm. Once God had a dream of an unending universe. So she became earth, broke in two, and gave birth. We've been going for ages, and we're still going on. There were billions before us, and billions more to come. Once I had a dream. I was flying high into the sky, and then I fell down onto the earth and was born. Feet stepping softly on the path, snails drawing waves in the sand. Oh, ocean shore, waves drawing lines in the sand, you holding my hand, and I am here with a life, a body, a heart, a purpose on this earth, and day and night, this unceasing, and day and night, this unceasing, deep longing inside.